Georgia's still heavily favored to win the national championship in 2023. Their odds are actually growing a little stronger. Does that make sense to you? We're going to talk about that for a little bit. The Dogs, right now, it depends on which outlet you're talking about, but pretty strongly, they are plus 220 to win the entire thing. Then you've got Alabama at plus 600. Same thing for Ohio State. Alabama slightly in front of Ohio State when all is said and done, but those two are right on top of one another. After that, it becomes a little more, a little choppier, I guess you could say. Then you've got Michigan at plus 1,000, LSU and SC both at plus 1,400. The Clemson Tigers and Florida State are both about 2,000. Texas is a little below that, and then Penn State and Notre Dame. I'll just mention Tennessee at plus 2,500. You're getting to the point, though, where some of these are just straight up sucker bets. I think it becomes pretty clear that if you're not betting on the top sort of 5 teams, you're pushing it. Georgia's plus 220 is so I do probabilities more than anything. I think people understand probabilities better. Georgia would have about a 32% chance, so about 1 in 3 or so. Alabama and Ohio State are below that at plus 600. They're at about 14, not quite 15% each. So both Georgia, Ohio State, and Alabama, if you're betting on one of the 3 of them, you're taking up about 60% of the probability according to the folks in Las Vegas. Michigan at plus 1,000, they're going to be at 9%, and then LSU at 1,400, I think I said earlier, is going to be at about 7%. So that's about 75% of the folks, the probability to win it. I think it's probably right. I wouldn't say Georgia's got a 50% chance to win the national championship. That seems pretty high to me. But I think they are clearly the favorite coming into this thing. And people say, well, why are they the favorite? I was talking to our friends from Texags the other day about why is Georgia the favorite? Why this, why that? Well, I think there's questions at a lot of these other schools. The only 2 teams, of the top three teams, none of them returns their starting quarterback. Of the top 6 teams and the bottom 3 of that, Michigan, LSU, and SC all return their quarterbacks for sure, but they've got such problems at other positions, I guess you could say, that the quarterback returning at Michigan, I think, is probably the least effective of those 3. And it's not just about any one position. If it were, then Caleb Williams would win SC the national championship. That didn't happen last year because Georgia did. You can pick up your commemorative book about it, Double Dogs, today. If you get Double Dogs today, you'll get our 2023 preview included with it. Order that now. Soon we're going to have a different offer. So if you want to take advantage of this offer, make sure that you're doing that now. I don't know when we're going to start the new offer, but it's going to be soon. That's the thing about this time of year. It doesn't feel like it for y'all probably, but I can assure you college football is right around the corner. I mean, it is right around the corner. And the 4th of July for me has always been the kicking off point, because for us, those of us who do this every single day, the season really doesn't end until spring practices are over. There's a lull. It used to be even worse. There's a lull after spring practices from about late or middle to late April until June 1st. It used to be worse because you would come out of national championship time, go straight into recruiting. I mean, it was a big deal. That was back in the day in the .coms. That was your biggest traffic time. You had 2 real big times of the year, August and July. We're really August and early September, and then December through signing day. Those were huge times. But the calendar has changed so much that college football is trying to brace itself for a sort of standardized calendar that people enjoy is probably wrong. That feels like it makes more sense. We're not at that point. But for me, July 4th, people are starting to get ready for the season, and I'm talking about fans. June is our deadest month, and we over at Dawg Post continue to have huge growth, but it is the lowest month in terms of eyeballs and so forth of the year. Understandably, I think. But I think once you turn the corner into the 4th of July, you start asking these questions. Who's going to win the national championship? Who's going to win the Heisman? Will Georgia and Florida be a super competitive game this year? What's the likelihood of South Carolina tripping up Georgia in Athens? There's all sorts of things you can really start turning your direction towards it. And then Media Days pops up for Georgia. That will be, I want to tell you the exact correct date. I'm actually flying to Nashville. I'm past the driving up there. The 7th, Georgia goes the 18th, but Media Days starts the 17th. I'll be up there the 17th, 18th, and part of the 19th. I'm not going to stay there all 4 days, because if you know anything about Media Days, one Media Day will go a long way for quenching your thirst. So, Georgia will go that Tuesday. But I think, when you start looking at these national championship betting odds, the biggest thing to remember is that they do look forward. There's someone ordering a book. I appreciate it. That's a smart move. The betting odds do look forward, but they never forget the most recent past. I mean, it is definitely predicated on what happened the season before. A lot of that is predicated on the season before. The only team I think that was not the case. I don't have the betting odds, but when you came into the 2020 season in college football, that year, obviously, we dealt with COVID. That was a whole thing. But LSU did not start the season number 1. They did start number 6, which is insane, right? I mean, that year you had a big fight between Clemson, Ohio State, and Alabama at the top. Ohio State and Clemson played in the I can't remember the bowl game. They played in the college football playoff. The bowl games were kind of goofed up that year. It was in New Orleans. Clemson has not won a Sugar Bowl, I don't think, in their history. But in this case, Ohio State really put them to the mats that day. But my global point is that LSU certainly should not have been ranked number 6 coming into the thing, looking backwards on it. The Dogs were ranked number 4. They finished number 8. It was probably too high for Georgia. We don't typically say that. That's another thing. Georgia doesn't always, they are not always represented the right way in these preseason rankings. I guess that's another discussion for another time. But, in 17, they were ranked 15th. In 18, they were ranked 3rd. In 19, they were ranked 3rd. In 20, they were ranked 4th. In 21, they were ranked 5th. Really missed that one. And then in 22, they were ranked 3rd. I mean, they've not started the season ranked number 1, I don't think, since 2008. Now, I fully expect that this year. That will happen. It's so curious. I just got an email. No, y'all aren't going to really care about this, but it's very curious to see the SEC and the ACC get together for basketball games. Georgia Florida State is going to be a 9:15 tip off. That's that's curious. The women, Georgia's women will play Duke at 5 o'clock on. I guess okay. So this is the week of Georgia Tech. No, this is the week of Georgia of the SEC championship game. So that can get a little bit confusing too. But we'll have full coverage for that. Don't worry about that. But this I have to say I do think that that Georgia at 30%, that's probably about right in terms of winning the national championship in 2023.